Hello, and you are very welcome back to Davinci Resolve A to Z, your one stop for all things Davinci Resolve, and this is Davinci Resolve Quick Tips, so let's just jump right in. In today's episode of Quick Tips, we're going to take a very basic look at the differences between saturation and color boost inside of Davinci Resolve. So if we add a new node here and we start increasing saturation, and for the sake of keeping things uniform, our aim will be to get our primary red swab here to be primary red on our vector scope. So it'll be overkill, but it keeps things uniform. So what we'll do is we'll expand out so that our red swab here is now just starting to touch off our primary red there on our vector scope. So let's grab a little screen grabby of that, and we'll disable that. Now on a different node, let's go ahead and do the same kind of idea. Let's get our primary red to that value, but we're doing it using the color boost. Now let's compare that image back and forth and the scopes back and forth and discuss the obvious differences. So if we first start with the image themselves and we toggle back and forth between the two, let's start with saturation. You can see that between this and our original image, we've gotten, quite obviously, a nice increase in saturation that looks quite clean and natural. And very importantly, our desaturated parts of the image primarily are grayscale along here, and then also certain swabs, like particularly this lilac swab, a very muted, pale, desaturated color to begin with, don't receive that much of a boost. Now if we go and look at our color boost, we can see that that's not quite the same. There's a slight color cast in our grayscale, which there shouldn't be, but it's actually working in our benefit for learning the differences here. The green color cast has been quite exacerbated because color boost kind of emphasizes increasing the saturation of areas of the image that are already low saturation to begin with. But that comes with the caveat of, when you think about it, if there's not that much color information there to begin with, and we add a lot of extra color information, the image breaks up very quickly, and we can really see that particularly in the darker areas of the image. We are getting incredibly blocky, incredibly aggressive chroma noise popping up in our shot. And furthermore, areas of the image that shouldn't have gotten that much saturation, like that lilac, has received quite a bit of extra saturation. Now, if we move over to our vector scope, we can see this back and forth again. So let's look at our saturation increase first. We brought that red all the way out, whereas before it started here, it now ends up out here. There's been quite an increase in its level of saturation. But if we look at that lilac, for example, which is right here, that's that little patch of lilac, you can see that it actually hasn't received that much extra color information. And nor has our blob in the middle here, which is our grayscale, nor has that. It has increased some color information because there was some there to begin with. But if that was a perfectly balanced shot, it wouldn't have done that. Now let's look at color boost. We can see it's a much more different story. While our outer and most saturated parts of the image are practically identical to saturation because they've received the same value increase, the difference between color boost, and because it's more focused on desaturated parts of the image first, are areas like our grayscale, this blob here, has increased massively, and you can see the difference in the jump of that little lilac is much more aggressive compared to the saturation increase with color boost. So that lilac that should be fairly muted has now actually become quite saturated. Now, of course, outside of the image falling apart very badly, you may have creative reasons to use color boost over saturation, but my opinion on the matter is, and this is just my opinion, so take it with a pinch of salt, is if you're wanting to keep things nice and natural and not degrade your image very quickly and easily, use saturation. Color boost is not really a way of doing things naturalistically. I don't normally really do a question of the day or anything like that, but I am genuinely curious about this. I have yet to come across very practical uses for color boost outside of using it in the minus values as a way to clean up whites in a shot, etc. So if you are a person that uses color boost as a tool quite a bit, I would love to hear from you and let me know some practical uses you have for using the color boost function. And one last little bit of homework. The reason saturation behaves the way it does is because it works on a multiplication function, and the reason color boost works the way it does is because it works on an additive function. Now that probably doesn't mean a whole lot, but what I would recommend is there's a link in the description to Avery Peck's video on saturation versus color boost, and I think no one could possibly do a better job from the technical side of things on showing the differences between the two. And if you go and watch that video, you'll really come away understanding the full differences between the two. But I wanted to take a bit more of a practical look between the two as opposed to a technical under the hood look. So if you're a technical under the hood kind of person, make sure you check that link out and tell Avery I said hi. So we'll leave it at that. My name is Lee Dalton. This is Davinci Resolve A to Z. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.